This is Calvin Castine, and we're coming to you today from Rouse's Point. We're just off Maple Street, and back of us, I believe, is Chapman Street. And in front of us is Clinton Street. We're at the former St. Patrick's School. It's been closed for several years now. I believe at one point also was Serendipity School. Is that correct, Bob Morgan?
I don't recall that Serendipity was here. They might have been for a while. It's been used by Northeastern Clinton from time to time, by the Harris Corporation for office space. Possibly Serendipity. I don't remember that for sure.
I think when they started, before they went on the Hayford Road, they were here for a short time. But whether they were or not, people will know it as St. Patrick's School. And we're talking with Mr. Bob Morgan from West Shazy, I believe.
Between West Shazy and downtown Scioto.
In the suburbs.
In the suburbs, right.
And we're talking to Bob because he is president of a board of directors that has a new thing going on here at St. Pat's. Why don't you tell us about what this new daycare center is all about and how it came to be, Bob?
Okay, well, 2 years ago this last April, I got a phone call from Jamie Basselier from the Child Care Council in Plattsburgh and David Bray from World Warehouse. They'd been in a meeting the previous day and they wanted to sit down and discuss the possibility of taking some steps to create more daycare facilities for the North Country, particularly recognizing that industry is faced with both parents working, and we're losing an awful lot of time when a child was sick because it did not have the facilities that the child could be taken care of without one of the other parent losing a day's work. Also, there was a need, they felt, for a little more education in the programs other than straight babysitting activities. We proceeded to invite a few people that we thought would be instrumental in helping us to conduct a survey. And about 2 years ago, we did such a survey, sending out written questionnaires to people all over the townships of Moores, Shazy, and Champlain. Sent about 2,800 inquiries out. We received only about 250 replies, but out of the 250 replies we did receive, there was an indication that there was a potential need for 157 children at that particular point in time. Those, of course, were from varying ages. Naturally did not include any newborns that now exist, but at that time, that was the number that was registered.
It might have been in the oven at that time.
Right, it's possible. So from that, we solicited such people as Ray Lavoie, who was a retired principal and school teacher, Celine Paquette, who has been in education for a good number of years, other representatives from businesses, Berna Badger from Harris Laboratories. We had Darcy Castine, more or less as a consultant at that particular point in time, and Matthew Boyer from Cross Border Development, as well as Jamie Basselier from Child Care Council in Plattsburgh. As I mentioned before, David Bray also. We had, in addition to that, at that particular point in time, Barbara Bouillet from Transporter. We have since grown in size. We now have Laura Upton, who is a single mother, a single parent, I should say, and she is an active participant on our board. And with this group, we proceeded to apply for the state of New York for a startup grant, in which we did receive. And from that, we generated a program with the idea of being licensed for 56 people. We discussed at great lengths the impact that this particular center was going to have on the North Country, the potential of other daycare centers, possibly losing some businesses, places like St. Mary's, preschool group, and it was our personal opinion that these businesses would not be affected, at least up front, maybe the first 2, 3, 4, or 5 years. We felt that there was a definite group of people that were doing something else in the way of daycare, but we're finding more and more that they would like to have some preschool training for their children. And it's this group of people that really convinced us that we should move on with the center. Today we had our inspection by the state of New York, who approved the installation, ready for startup. Next tomorrow we have the county health department will be visiting us, along with the group that prepares the food for Northeastern Clinton Central. We're going to work out those details and look for the approval of the state for that program, which we don't expect to have any problems. Next week, the state engineer will come up and look at the newly installed smoke detectors, emergency lighting systems, and everything that we've installed in the school. So although putting the package together here, we may be 3 or 4 weeks late in getting everything set up, we still plan on opening on September 1.
Okay, which I believe is when school starts, right?
Right.
It starts, for those who haven't heard yet, it starts before Labor Day this year, and that I think is due to, in a large factor, to the number of days we lost last year due to the ice storm, and then later on flooding and everything else that happened. So they're trying to get an earlier start so they have more flexibility in the latter part of the year. But that's the school system, and not
Right.
nothing to do with you guys. Okay, a couple things that came to my mind. Of course, you and I discussed the other daycare centers in St. Mary's off camera. So, you say 56, you're licensed for 56. You plan to be maxed out. Now, you said one of the reasons that you started this was in case somebody had a sick child, that there was a place for that child to go. So if you're maxed out and there's suddenly a sick child, there's no room for that child.
We do not expect to be maxed out come day one. We would like to think by the end of the first year that we'll be maxed out. Now, when I refer to a sick child, I'm talking about families that are enrolled in the daycare center. In other words, someone who is not enrolled as a full-time member of the daycare center could not just bring their youngster over here and drop her off for the day if she was sick.
That was the impression I got when you were talking about.
Okay.
You're talking about the 6-year-old who's in first grade, and the parents are worried about that kid day by day. That's what I thought the original problem would have been.
Okay. No, that gets very, very impractical to try to deal with, because you have to have a certain set enrollment. Know what your enrollment is going to be, because you have to have so many attendants for every so many children. So we could not run an operation where all of a sudden we'd have 5 more children thrown in at us that we didn't know was going to happen the night before, because we would not have the attendants to take care of them. It's simply those that are enrolled preschool, are enrolled in the program, that would still be able to bring their child here whether it was sick or not.
Okay, so am I wrong then? That, again, my thought when you told me the original purpose was to handle the problem I just tossed at you. That wasn't it? Because you said, both parents are working and all of a sudden the sick child is sick. Well, if they already got a daycare provider, they're probably not worried about that sick child.
Okay, but what we found out was that no matter if they got a daycare provider or not, many of them were not able to take their sick child there.
Okay. So those are the ones you're going to...
Right. So they stayed home. The parents stayed home and took care of the baby. The baby did not go to the babysitters that day.
Okay, so you're talking preschoolers as far as sick children goes.
Right.
An alternative... So let's say you've got a 2-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 6-year-old. The 2-year-old and the 4-year-old are coming here. The 6-year-old isn't. 6-year-old gets sick. There still won't be any room here, right?
That's correct. Now, at some point in time, we have discussed the possibility of recognizing this as a nice add-on to have. But between you and I operating as a not-for-profit organization, you've got to have a pretty healthy financial background to be able to have people on call that you can say, hey, I'm in trouble this morning, come on in, okay? We've got to have money to meet that payroll.
Do you have a goal for your budget? Right now, as we're speaking here today on Thursday, I think it's the 13th today, what would happen if you would fall short? Do you have X number of kids that you have to have before you open these doors on September 1st?
No, we're geared up to open the doors already. As of yesterday morning, we had 10 prepaid enrollees, enough that we will actually move on with, okay? During the initial startup, yes, we're financially strapped. We only have X number of dollars. Our first year startup program was estimated at costing about $295,000.
That's a lot of.
That's a lot of cash.
That's a lot of bottle returns.
And what we're talking about as far as income is that $76,000 we did receive from the state of New York as a startup grant, as well as contributions that have been made by some of the local businesses. We do have a lot of requests out to businesses that haven't responded yet. We hope that we do get early return on some of those, so we know exactly where we're going to stand financially when we open the doors here in day one.
Now, I don't always catch the drift of things first time through, but when I read about this starting up, I was under the impression it would be the type of daycare that would be subsidized by the employers. Was I way off base in assuming that?
No, I think that a lot of our initial talks, we had said that this was what we were attempting to do, but we recognized at that time, too, that it was going to take a great deal of time to sell this program to local industries. We're getting some indication that this is going to happen, but formal programs haven't been announced by any local industries at the present time. There is subsidizing, of course, available through the county. Those programs are dealt with more or less on a... You have to come in and tell us exactly what your situation is. That information has to be passed to the Clinton County. They make a determination of how much subsidy they would grant for that particular youngster.
Okay, you've got I think on the last page of this paper you have, it has... right now, I'm talking again with Bob off camera. We don't know how much subsidy is available per family, and it's going to change if you're making here or here, and you're within this level here. The person here is going to get more than the person up here. But the family size starts with 2, which would be a single parent. And why don't you just tell us what those are about?
Okay, the family size ranges from 2 to 6. I haven't got my glasses on.
Okay, well, okay.
Yeah, I better let you read it.
Okay. Or your arms aren't long enough without your glasses, right? Okay, yeah, family size of 2. The weekly gross income would be $323 a week. So that'd be a single parent with 1 child. A family size of 3, the weekly gross is $399. You'd be, if you make $399 or less, or maybe $398 and less. I'm not sure if the $399 is the... I imagine that's the last figure because it's just under 400, so I'd imagine it's $399 and under. For a family of 4, which would be a single parent with 3 kids, and I would hope that we'd, by the time we get to 4 people, that would be 2 parents involved and not a single parent. But we know the reality that...
Don't know.
Yeah. But in that case, it'd be a weekly gross of $475. A family of 5, a weekly gross of $550, and a family of 6, the weekly gross of $626. So if you're making more than that, you're not going to get any subsidy.
Not at the present time through the county program.
Now, is the county the only possibility? State, federal, anything like that?
For
county administer the...
For this startup, it'll be the county that will be the chief group that we're working with. Down the line, once we get fully established here, we hope to be able to come up with more subsidy programs, but we've got to iron that out yet in months to come.
Now, do you know offhand if subsidies are available to the average daycare center, or only because I think I've heard that daycare in general, a licensed daycare center can get subsidies. Is that what your understanding is?
Yes, but I also believe that all the other licensed daycare centers fall in that same category
That's what
too.
I'm saying.
Yes,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. So it's not just because you're a non-profit. It's
No.
any licensed daycare center
right.
would fall into that category.
Now, the figures that we just read off of the weekly gross, those figures are submitted to the county, and they take a look at the family situation, and they determine how much money they would let that family have for that daycare.
Right. So it's not a decision made by you or board. It's entirely done by the county.
That's correct.
Okay. So if you are interested in this and would fall into the range of subsidy, and I would think that there will be a lot of subsidy involved in all this. Do you want to get into the rates? You got hourly rate. You got rates here for 30 hours or more, or 29 hours or less. And the center, I believe, is open from 6:30 till I think I saw 5:30.
5:30 at night. That's correct.
So you could be there 5 days a week. That's 11 hours right there. You could go up to 55 hours, anywhere from 30 to 55 hours, and it's the same cost, right?
Right. So the various categories we're talking about, this 6 weeks to 18 months, the cost per child will be $114. In the category 18 months to 3 years, it's $107 a week. 3 years to 5 years, $99 per week. And 6 to 12 years, it's $92 per week. When you get into part-time hours, that's 29 or fewer hours. The 6 to 18 months is $75 a week. The next category, 18 months to 3 years, is $70 per week. 3 to 5 years is $65 per week. 6 to 12 years is $60 per week before and after school. $32 per week before school only, and $38 per week after school only.
So the after school, before school, how are those kids going to get to school?
At the present time, the transportation details exactly of what bus runs and so on are going to be made available. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah.
Okay. Will be coordinated with the NCCSS. And so I can't give you any of the details at that particular point in time, but apparently we have been informed that bus transportation will be available in conjunction with their normal runs. And
Well, since you have a Rouse's Point location here, it's unlikely that a child would be brought here to, say, Moores Elementary, right?
I lost the question there somehow or other.
It's unlikely that let's say a first grader here, their parents live in Moores, but they have to leave to work early before the bus comes, so they want to come here, bring their child here. They work, let's say they work at Wyeth Harris, one works at Wyeth Harris, one works at Delagar. So they want to drop their child off here at 7 a.m. because they have to be to work for 7 a.m.
Okay, well that's why the early morning start.
Right.
Yeah.
So where's that child going to go to school? They live in Moores. They bring the child here to Rouse's Point. That child going to get a bus ride to Moores, or is the child going to have to go to Rouse's Point, Champlain, St. Mary's?
Okay, as far as the pickup at the end of the day, is that what you're leading up to?
No, I'm talking about, you say there's a rate here for before school. It's $32 a week before school only, $38 a week after school only.
Oh, okay.
So these people from Moore, let's say you and your wife, Ann.
Okay, I
Shazy,
get you now. I'm a little
you got to get to work before the bus comes. You got to leave
Yep.
early. So you
Okay.
can't leave your child home. You can't leave a 6-year-old home. So you bring the child here, but you still want that child to go to St. Mary's or to Moores or wherever. That isn't probably going to happen out of this location, huh?
That is a detail that we're going to have to talk more about. I don't have a cut and dried answer for that.
Okay. I'm good at finding questions. Okay, anything else, Bob, that we're going to go in and talk to Jamie, but anything else before we...
Only that I'd like to support or request more support from the businesses and even individuals that live in the town of Moores, town of Champlain, or town of Chazy in supporting this program. As I say, we are very, very tight on our finances. We need all the support you can get. Volunteer labor, certainly, we would like to talk to, because it is expensive to have a large staff here at this school. And there are a lot of people out there, for instance, retired school teachers, that may want to use 3 or 4 hours a day or something to do. We'd like to encourage them to come down and talk to the staff here with the idea in mind that they may volunteer some time. That would be a big help to us here particularly.
I assume that the state or somebody, probably most likely the state, tells you how many adult qualified people you need per child. So a retired school teacher would be a qualified person that would help you fill that need?
It could be, yes. Very much so. And particularly when you get a situation where one of our regular employees, herself maybe, or himself may be ill and can't make it.
Right.
We got someone that can fill in that slot.
Well, that's you're looking for volunteers. Is there a situation where you'd have hire a substitute teacher, that type of thing?
Well, the first year I think we'd be looking for strictly volunteers. The word hire would kind of scare us.
But you're going to have staff that are going to be sick. What's going to happen then?
Yeah, well, we have to build into our program enough coverage there. So, because we do have to remain independent regardless of potential volunteers. And that details of that is being currently worked out with Jamie Basselier and our new director, who is coming on board Monday morning. So,
okay, you haven't. Now, is Jamie Basselier the current director? I'm not sure. We didn't discuss the new director part.
Okay, Jamie is head of the Child Care Council in Plattsburgh. She's an expert in this particular field. She has given us the guidance all the way along to set up this organization up here. I'm sure that she would like to introduce the new director to you when you move inside, to show shots of some of the
the new director is here?
in there. Yes, she's here this afternoon.
All right.
And Jamie would be glad to involve her in the discussions and reviewing what we got inside to offer them.
All right. I know you work for Kimpex, and I see some Kimpex employees here. I see Clarence LaFountain working. It's hard to keep track of him because he moves so fast. But is Kimpex donating some manpower here?
Just for one emergency job we got involved in. I was concerned a little bit about the fact of the school being so old that the electrical wiring was not adequate to operate 2 hot water heaters. So I had 2 of my people have come down and run that new power line.
Okay, so Don Johnston.
Don Johnston, yeah. By the way, these are Susi employees, Susi USA. He's the owner and operator of the building, okay? Kimpex is just one of our tenants.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
Same person.
Yes.
Same owner, but
right.
Different.
Well, not really either. Mr. Susi does not own Kimpex anymore. He hasn't for some 3 or 4 years.
Oh, I guess I'm behind the...
He sold that business out to a Canadian firm. So the only thing he has to do with Champlain is he sells parts to Kimpex, but he owns the building.
Okay, well, is Quimpex still operating in
Quimpex, yeah, all of those companies by one name or another are still operating in Canada, yes. Quimpex was our name 3 years ago, but because of various changes in the organization, we've changed from Kimpex to Quimpex to Susi USA.
Okay. Well,
I hope for the last time, because everybody gets confused about who's who at the zoo here.
Well, not you though, right?
No, I'm going with it. So.
Okay. Yeah, we're gonna go inside. Thanks, Bob.
Okay, thank you.
We've come inside, and these people are just about ready to take off, but they've been having snacks, and they're just finishing up their snacks. And we'll be talking with Jamie Basselier and the new director here in a moment. I just warned Jamie not to move, because once I put that camera in the tripod, the tripod does not know if you move or not. This is, I'm going to get that last name right, Basselier, Jamie Basselier.
That's right.
All right. And you are the interim, should we say, or what?
Well, I'm really a board member.
The guiding light?
I'm a board member of this new child care center, and I run the Child Care Coordinating Council in Plattsburgh. And so I've helped the group of employers and other board members get this center up and running and licensed and furnished and ready to enroll children.
You're ready to wash your hands? I saw you in the water there. You're ready to wash your hands of the whole thing?
Not for a little while yet. Not for a little while yet.
Will you see yourself remaining on the board or going out to plant new seeds somewhere else?
Well, new seeds are being planted, and I think I'll stay on the board as well. And it's really too soon to, to bow out of the picture and retire from this program. So, I'll stay on the board and help get it up and running and funded by employers and, to keep it a very high quality center.
Okay, now, I was talking with Bob and about the subsidy and stuff. You don't really know how much subsidy is available at a given level, what the maximum could be?
Child care subsidies are available through Clinton County Department of Social Services to help families who are working at fairly low-paying and moderate-paying jobs. And there is a chart that the county publishes with the guidelines for what you make and what you're eligible for. The amount that parents pay under the subsidy will depend upon their income and their family size. The private rates, I think you have the tuition rates already, and those have been established by the board. But there is help for families who are working at moderate and low income jobs.
Okay, but you don't know how much of the, let's say, the 114 for a 6-week-old, how much of that would be covered?
That would be, we don't determine that.
No, but could it be all of it? Or
yes.
Could be as much as all of it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's
yep. It really depends on family size and family income.
Okay. So if you're low income and you'd like to take advantage of this, find out and how quickly can the person get an answer and what it costs them. I think that's got to be a factor in their decision.
I think any person who thinks that they're eligible should call the Department of Social Services in Plattsburgh at 565-3238. 3238, and they would talk with a caseworker who would help them determine whether or not they were eligible for financial help to pay for their child care as they were working.
Okay. So the daycare center here doesn't get involved in any of that, you just refer them?
Right. We do not calculate the subsidies, only the Department of Social Services does, so that's really the first place to start. And if the family is working in Rouse's Point or needs child care in Rouse's Point, the Department of Social Services is going to provide them with this center's name and number as a place to check out for enrolling their children.
Okay. But they can call there and say, I'm thinking of this place in particular and go from there. Okay. And
they can call here as well, and if they thought they were eligible, we would simply refer them on to the Department of Social Services.
Okay.
The new director is...
New director, you've just moved off camera, you realize.
I'm sorry. The new director is Bobby Johnson, and I'd like to introduce her. And Bobby's a new graduate from the social work program at Plattsburgh State University College. And I'll let her say a few words.
Is it Roberta or Bobby?
Bobby.
Bobby.
Bobby Joe.
Bobby Joe.
Yep, named after my father. Fairly new. Today's my first day up here, so I'm kind of
I'm a
getting...
little cold just in case that camera's not getting me right now.
Okay. Getting my feet wet today, learning a little bit about the...
You been in there?
No.
No? Okay.
The policies, procedures, talking with Jamie. Going to meet some of the staff next week. So I'm excited. We've got a positive
You're going to be the
outlook.
director?
Yep.
Will you be dealing with children directly or just managing?
Yes,
or?
I think both. Both.
That's right.
Okay. You
She-
know that, right?
Yes, Bobby will be responsible really for the day-to-day operation of this child care center. She will supervise the staff in the different classrooms. She will help them prepare activities and curriculum. She'll report to the board of directors and, take their guidance as well. But she'll be responsible for the overall planning of the center, meeting with parents, answering their questions, addressing their concerns. She'll have a hand in each of the classrooms in terms of, helping out and overseeing the activities that go on. So she'll, play a managerial role as well as a role directly in the classroom.
All right. How many adults per child? I know it varies, different age groups.
Yep. The infant room is 2 for 8
Yep.
children.
2 for 8 children or 1 to 4.
Why don't you move closer here? You're stay right there, Bobby. Let
Oh,
Jamie
Jamie
closer.
moved.
Yes,
Okay.
there you go. Make sure you're in there.
Okay.
Hopefully in the picture.
For toddlers, the ratio is 1 to 6. 1 to 5 rather, sorry. And in this room, preschoolers, it's 1 to 6. So the younger the child, the higher the ratio of adults to children. For the school age program, it's 1 to 10.
Okay. What kind of a background does a person need in order to get hired here?
An associate's degree in early childhood education at a minimum, and some experience working with children in groups to be a head teacher. And to be a teacher's aide, simply a high school diploma or its equivalent, and some experience caring for children.
All right. How many teachers' aides can you have out of a mix of 5 employees?
Well, right now we have 3 head teachers and 2 teachers' aides and 1 director. As enrollment grows, we will need another teacher and probably 3 or 4 more teachers' aides.
This guy
Yes,
wants your
honey.
attention.
Where's your mommy? Jim's gonna go find your mommy.
All right. This guy lost his mommy. What's your name, fella?
His name is Brendan, and he's enrolled in the toddler program. And his baby brother Corey is enrolled in the infant program. And he's been coming every week with his mom and his baby brother for playgroup, really to get, used to the center and to see how it's progressed.
Okay. What happens? Toddler is what age to what age?
Toddler is 18 months to 3 years. Infant is 6 weeks to 18 months. And preschooler is 3 years to 5 years.
All right. Let's say I turn 3 in the middle of January. You're going to throw me out of one room and put me in the other one that same day, or what?
Well, as the months went by, as you approached 3, we would start bringing you over to the preschool little by little to meet the teachers and do some activities with children so that as close to your 3rd birthday as possible, you'd be all set to transition full-time over to the new room.
Even though my best friend is still in the other group?
Well, you'll still see your best friend on the playground and at lunch, and I would think that there would be some, visitation between the classrooms. But the licensing regulations for New York State child care centers are very strict about certain age categories and cutoffs and the appropriate staff-child ratio.
And they can't be intermingled? They've got to be in separate rooms?
Yes, that's correct. That's correct.
All right. Anything else? Bobby Joe, can you think of anything that we should know?
I'm really excited about the position. I'm really hoping to get some training in the next couple weeks and meet all the parents and hopefully talk to some new parents about enrolling some children and getting some resources together for the teachers and the parents to use, get out into the public and let them know about the conferences and the workshops that we're going to be having. And
Roughly, Jamie, what level of activity will will each age group have? Obviously, the 18-month-olds probably won't have much structured.
No, not structure in terms of clockwork, but there is structure around meals and around nap time, and there will be a predictability to each child's day here. But children will paint and will play in the water and will color and will have outside play and take walking field trips through the village, have their meals and snacks, of course, story time, arts projects, and I would say toddlers as well as preschoolers would do a lot of that. Babies, we follow their schedule, so they sleep and eat when they need to. They have a variety of cushions to climb on and toys to explore and low shelving to as they begin to pull themselves up and learn to cruise and walk. That there's plenty of opportunity to be doing that. Babies play in the water as well.
Now, being in the TV business, I hope you have at least 3-4 hours a day set aside for television watching.
We don't even have a television here and don't plan to have TV here. I think really children watch an awful lot of television on their own, and that it doesn't really need to be an important part of a child care setting.
And
Sorry.
well, chances are, if they're in somebody's home being babysat, somebody's watching a soap opera, and that baby's growing up watching a soap opera.
That's right. That's right. And many cartoons are extremely violent, and we early childhood education is so important in a young child's life. We frame the future of how they're going to learn and how they're going to learn throughout all of their schooling years. So what we feel we're doing here is providing a foundation for that later learning to be built upon, just as though you build a foundation before you build your house, and your house is going to crumble if your foundation is not strong. And in terms of relating that to violence, we have children killing children these days, 7- and 8-year-old children killing children. And I would like to believe that if all children, in this country, in this world, had very high quality early childhood programming, support for parents as they raise their children, and structures in place for that community to raise that child, that we would have less of that. And we're tackling a very small piece of that whole philosophy and concept here at this center.
Okay. Anything else? If not, I'll ask you to give a phone number.
For pre-enrollment, parents can still call the Child Care Council in Plattsburgh at 561-4999 or toll free at 1-800-540-2273. We'll soon have the phone line up and running here. For the time being, the number here is 297-6945. That number will change, though, as we get phone lines squared away. We'll keep everybody posted.
Okay, well, people may not have time to write down the numbers. The numbers are listed in Plattsburgh under what?
Under Child Care Coordinating Council.
Okay, so look under Child Care, and here?
The number for this building right now in the phone
Listed
book,
under?
St. Patrick's School.
Oh, okay. That'd be easy.
Yep.
All right, anything else?
I think that's all. I don't know where all of our children went. We have shy
I
parents.
hope somebody does.
We have shy parents who are hesitant about being on camera, so I think they've dispersed into other rooms.
They're in parental hands. All the children you saw here today were with their parents.
That's
so
correct. That's correct.
They have not escaped.
No,
All
they're
right,
not unsupervised.
All right, thank you, Jamie.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Bobby.
Thank you. I think 5 or 6. It's the week after the 4th of July.
We'll bounce.
Hey, Corey. You want to bounce? Huh? Ooh, you want to bounce?
Thank you very much. You were very cooperative.